Hey, Busy Bees. Today we are back with another chapter in our My Word School series, Book 3, Mrs. Roopy is Loopy by Dan Gutman. So before we get into our chapter of the day, we're going to get into our riddle of the day. And the riddle of the day is, how do you make a poisonous snake cry? And I'll repeat it again. How do you make a poisonous snake cry? And I'll give you the answer to the riddle at the end of our chapter. So let's pop open the book and fly through this adventure together. So we finished the last chapter off, which was chapter 7, with a character named Neil Armstrong. He went to visit the library when Miss Roopy could not be there. The students were trying very hard to see if it was Mrs. Roopy or not, but they were very unsuccessful. So now we're going to get into chapter 8, Nursery Rhyme Week. The only way to prove that Mrs. Roopy was dressing up in silly costumes and pretending to be other people would be to get her fingerprints. Me and Ryan and Michael were determined to get them the next time we had library. When do we have library this week? We asked Miss Daisy. Oh, there is no library this week, she said. The whole school is celebrating Nursery Rhyme Week in our classrooms. Oh man, I said. We wanted to go to the library. Yeah, agreed Michael and Ryan. Miss Daisy looked all surprised. She put her hand on my forehead the way my mom does when she thinks I have a fever. Are you sick, AJ? Miss Daisy said. There must be something wrong with you if you want to go to the library. Didn't you say all books are boring? They are, I said. I just want proof that Mrs. Roopy was pretending to be George Washington, Johnny Appleseed, and Neil Armstrong. We have to get her fingerprints. Oh, don't be silly, Miss Daisy said. Mrs. Roopy is a perfectly normal lady. Miss Daisy took out a big fat Mother Goose book. She opened it and was about to start reading when this weird-looking girl skipped into the classroom. She was all dressed up in a puffy dress and she was holding a big cane. It's Mrs. Roopy, we all shouted. I'm not Mrs. Roopy, the girl said. My name is Little Bo Peep. I seem to have lost my sheep. Do you know where I can find them? Nope, everybody said. Maybe they're in the dungeon on the 3rd floor, I said. Michael tried to get her fingerprints, but Little Bo Peep went skipping out of the classroom before he could get a juice box. That was weird, Emily said. What kind of name is Peep, anyway? I asked. Miss Daisy read us some nursery rhymes from the Mother Goose book. What kind of name is Goose, anyway? After a while, this girl came running into our classroom. She was holding a bucket in her hand. It's Mrs. Roopy again, we all shouted. Who are you now, Mrs. Roopy? Emily asked. I'm not Mrs. Roopy, the girl said. My name is Jill. I ran up a hill with my friend Jack to fetch a pail of water, but Jack fell down and broke his crown. I went running after him, but now I have no idea where he is. Have you seen him? Nope, everybody said. Try the dungeon on the 3rd floor, I said. You must be thirsty from all that running, Michael said. Have some juice. No time for that, Jill said. I've got to find Jack. And then she ran out of the classroom. After lunch, we were at recess out in the playground when we noticed somebody sitting at the edge of the grass under a tree. We all ran over to investigate. It was Mrs. Roopy, of course, dressed up in another silly costume. Are you Little Bo Peep again? Emily asked. Heavens no, said Mrs. Roopy. My name is Little Miss Muffet. It's a lovely day, so I thought I'd just sit on this tuffet and eat some curds and whey. What's a tuffet? I asked, trying to peek under Miss Muffet. What's a curd? Asked Ryan. Yuck, Michael said. Curds sound disgusting. I'm going to throw up, Ryan said. That's even worse than what they serve in the cafeteria. Couldn't you rather have a peanut butter jelly sandwich? I asked. Andrea and Emily came over while we were talking with Little Miss Muffet. Andrea started to tell us what curds and whey and tuffets were, but she never got to finish. This obviously fake spider came down from the tree over Miss Muffet's head. She took one look at it and ran back to school. Michael didn't even have the chance to get her fingerprints. That lady is weird. It went on like that for the rest of the week. All these nursery rhyme characters kept popping up with no warning. all over the school. Who are you now? We would ask. I'm an old woman in a shoe. I have so many children, I don't know what to do. Maybe you should put some of them in the dungeon on the third floor, I said. In the next few days, we were visited by Wee Willie Winky, Georgie Porgy, Tommy Tucker, Simple Simon, Peter Pumpkin Eater, and some guy named Jack who kept jumping over a candlestick for no reason at all. I guess it was the same Jack that girl Jill was looking for. It was nonstop all week. I can't say for sure, but I'm pretty sure at least some of those nursery rhyme characters were actually Mrs. Roopy. And that is the end of our chapter for today. So my oh my, they are still unlucky. They don't know if these characters are real or not. And they don't know if it's Mrs. Roopy or not. Who do you think it is? Do you think it's Mrs. Roopy dressing up in different characters just to have fun with the students and keep them engaged in reading? That would be a pretty awesome librarian if that was. All right, so let's get to the answer to our riddle. So our riddle was, how do you make a poisonous snake cry? And the answer is, drum roll please, take away its rattle. Do you get it? Take away its rattle. So just like babies have rattles to play with, right? We're talking about a poisonous snake, and there's something that's in Texas, and it's in other states as well, but I know for sure it's in Texas. And it's called a rattlesnake. So they were saying take away its rattle and it'll cry like a baby. If you like this video, give it a like, and if you'd like to follow along for more adventures, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you on the next one.